Charleston City Councilman Bob King is dealing with a lot of issues, from truancy in the neighborhood to sidewalks to the future pedestrian bridge over the Noisette Creek. I sit down one-on-one with the councilman for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Councilman Bob King, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks for inviting me, Quintin. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome, greatly. You and I met just last week at the North Charleston District 8 Candidates Forum at Felix Davis Community Center.
That's right, and you were the moderator there. I did a good job. I think you did a good job. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it greatly. I want to pick up where we left off because we didn't have enough time to talk about really a lot of the residents' concern about Noisette Creek. And some of it obviously is the city's property and some of it is the state property.
Well, Noisette Creek is a corridor through the northern end of that district, District 8. Yeah. And we've gone to develop Noisette Creek. We have a master plan for that Noisette Creek. We have a waterfront park over there now, as you know, and we are in the process now of having a bridge built over that creek, so you can walk over the bridge. We're going to park on this side of the Noisette Creek, and we'll walk over that bridge into the park and have it's a nice park over there in the area, but there's no parking over in that particular area. And so we got to provide the parking, and we have that master plan for that. We have a master plan for the housing. The old Navy officers' housing is on that creek also. Right. We have a master plan for that that we've been working on for some time. That is in place now. On one side of that creek, we're going to have the residential, all those Navy houses, homes in that area. And on the other side of that creek will be the industrial park. But we're going to have some businesses in which we already have there now. On that base in that particular area down from that, there is still some property over there that belongs to the Navy. And the federal government, as long as the federal government maintains that or keeps it, we don't have any access. But once they leave that property, then it becomes a property of the city of North Charleston. How soon do you hope the city of North Charleston can acquire that property? We already have it. Okay. We already have that property in that particular area. And it's just those isolated places that belong to the federal government. When you go on the base over there, you might notice these buildings have a blue sign on them. That's occupied by the federal government. And like I say, they can use it as long as they want to use it. Now, we do have a plan in place now that hasn't materialized yet. We're going to try to get all the government agencies off the base over there and put them on the weapons station. Okay. But we cannot get a milk contract for that. So we're trying to get a private developer to build a building on the weapons station, and they'll be on leased land from the government, and they will move these people off that base onto that weapons station where they have security. They have security over there, and they have to provide some security over there because they have the MRAPs over in this area, and they need security for that, and so all that on a weapons station would be security, it's around the clock security over there, and so. We're in the process of doing that, but that hasn't materialized yet. We're trying to get a developer to build a building over there, be about 80,000 square foot building or something like that, to put the rest of the Spa Wars people over in that particular area.
Now, with the bridge, how much is that going to cost the average taxpayer?
The cost, I don't think we've set a cost. We have all the plans for it now. We don't have any figures yet as to what we just passed a bond issue for improvements over in that particular area. That is included in that bond issue.
Now, how much of the bond money going to come to your district?
Well, it's kind of spread out from the district. We're going to complete the Garco thing over in the village. Right. Oh, yes. As you know, we have the The Chamber of Commerce is coming to North Charleston.
yes.
Can you believe that? The oldest Chamber of Commerce in the United States has come to be in Park Circle area. In addition to that, we having the Garco Mill. Is going to be developed. Garco property. We asked them to save one of the old historical mill buildings, and that's being developed now, and that'll be open in next year, sometime in next year. And that's being developed by the William Cogswell, who was the developer of the cigar factory downtown.
Right.
And he's a developer, and he's also looking at. He bought the old powerhouse building on the naval base, which is the oldest building on the base, but was built in 1901. It was authorized by Theodore Roosevelt when he was president, and they built that building. It's the first building that was built on that naval base with the powerhouse. He has bought that building. He wants to renovate that building into a thing. I asked him what he would do with it, and he said he's still working on his plans for that. But he's a developer and restoring old buildings and bringing in a new product in the building.
Okay. Now you talk about development. Is there too much development in your district?
There is a lot of development, but we've been working on this thing for years. People like the Park Circle area. People do like it. We have found out in a lot of the millennials, so we call them, they don't like to cut no grass, and they like where they can live, where they can go down to the village. That village is really a drawing point for them. They like to go down and have dinner and have a few drinks or something other, wine or something other, and then they can walk back home. And so it's a live work area, and it's become a very popular area, because if you mention Park Circle, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
And so it's been a kind of you, as I mentioned before,
Right.
at my meeting when you were having a meeting there, that we talked about the crown jewel of North Charleston. The Park Circle area is the crown jewel of North Charleston. No question about it.
Now you said that area is your district is the crown jewel of North Charleston. I know obviously there's some issues about crime, particularly truancy and breaking and entering. When I went back to look at the form, what is the North Charleston Police?
There's too much crime in North Charleston. Of course, we have Chief Reggie Burgess is chief. He's been on board a little over a year now, and he's working his heart out. We have a lot of after-school programs. We're trying to get to these kids, before they become delinquent. And of course, getting them to go to school and attend school like they should, and that type of thing. We have, I think, a good principal in North Charleston High School, for example.
Mr. Darby.
And Mr. Darby, Henry Darby, and he's a native of this area.
Yes.
And so he's working his heart out to try to get them. And the good thing about that is a lot of time those kids cut up in school or have a problem with them in school, he calls the parents, because he went to school with a lot of parents now.
Right.
And so he knows himself. He knows them on a personal basis.
Right.
So I think that's an asset.
Yes.
I think that's an asset when you can do that. And you can talk to people on a personal basis like that. I think that's really good. And so we got to keep them in some kind of program all the time. We have a lot of programs. The police department has all these after-school programs. We got all over the city. 20-something after-school programs. We're very active in our recreation department. Is second to none, and we keep building on that. But that together with the recreation department, with their programs, and the police department, all the programs they have, and they have a multitude of programs.
True.
And Reggie Burgess he's implemented a lot of those things since he's been chief. And I think that's helped. He's working with it, but it's still too much linked. We don't have enough of parent involvement. We need more parent involvement. The parents need to know where the children are, And instead of the police out there looking for them, they need to know where the children are. And a lot of times they'll pick them up and they take them home. The parents say, well, we didn't know they were aimed out or something like that. So anyway, we're talking about juveniles, and we're talking about people disrupt the schools over there. And as you know, the city has no control over the schools. That's Charleston County School Board. And so they're working on now in the North Charleston, as I mentioned before. In North Charleston, we have 9 unimproved schools in Charleston County School District. 8 of them in North Charleston. So see, that doesn't speak well for our communities. And the problem is the school district is making an effort now, I think, to try to do something about that. And they're having several meetings as we speak in the area now. They have weekly meetings almost to talk about how they can improve the schools in North Charleston. And I'm certainly in favor of that. There's some legislation that needs to be passed. As you know, 388 needs to be repealed. Act 388 is where you don't pay any school taxes. The residents doesn't pay any school taxes. That's Act 388. It's passed by the General Assembly, and that took it out. They pay the bond issues, but they don't pay any for the schools to operate. And in addition to that, they have the other things like the constituent board. There's some problem where that constituent board should stay in place, because it kind of divides the power as to what the big school board can do and the district boards can do. They have different responsibilities, and sometimes they come in conflict.
Now, how many schools that need to be improved in your district?
We got North Charleston High School in particular. That's the main one. Okay. And the other schools, North Charleston Elementary Schools in my district, that certainly needs to be. Dunston Elementary up there, we just built a new school on Remont Road called Dunston Elementary for the facilities, and now they're trying to put in some new programs up there to appeal to the program. That's up in Charleston Farms area, which is part of District 8.
Sure.
And we put in a lot of programs. The school district has put in some new programs up there to try to improve things. They do have a nice facility there now, and we are getting some nice facilities. But we need to have programs to go along with the nice facilities. We can all have all nice facilities, but if you don't have good programs and good teachers in those schools, we need to, and the teachers we need to turn the state. As you know, we're building what I call it a trade center. Right. Some people call it advanced studies. Right. Across from North Charleston High School. Right. That's coming out of the ground now. That's going to be very nice. It's going to have all kind of trades in there, and it'll have some advanced studies stuff in there. So I think that's an asset to the program was originally they were going to try to move some of the schools around, and of course North Charleston is at half capacity. They have room for about 500 more students. Okay. So we get them over there where they can go across the street to take those advanced studies. Things they're going to have auto mechanics, they have carpenters, they're going to have all kind of programs over there. So they tell us that it's going to be a state-of-the-art facility. The school district is doing that in each area. They've already got one in Mount Pleasant. Sure. They're going to do West Atlanta. They're going to one downtown. Right. And this is our one in North Charleston. They did build it on a football stadium that we had in North Charleston, which I wasn't very happy about moving the stadium. But of course, we have to train these kids. All the kids don't need to have to go to college. You can get a trade now and make a very, very good living in some of these trades that air conditioner mechanic or whatever it may be, And so we need to kind of work that. We got to give them the opportunity. All of them will not take advantage of the opportunity, but we need to encourage them to do that as much as we possibly can. Now,
you talked earlier about Charleston Farms. What is that future?
Charleston Farms, the future is they got a lot of kids. The new school I just mentioned, the new school just went in, and they are going to, and they're making some improvements and put some new programs in there. And there's a lot of kids in that particular area. of Charleston Farms. It's a large subdivision. We call it Charleston Farms, but it's a very large subdivision. They have a lot of children in that area. But we need to have those programs available for them in that school, and those after-school programs. And the city has the sponsors that, and we do have facilities there for that to put those programs in. We have to continue to work on that. Chief Burgess has been spending some good bit of time up in that area too, as you know. And of course, he can only spend so much time. We are the third largest city in South Carolina, and he has a lot to do and a lot of area to cover. But he's got some new programs. We got some new equipment, camera equipment coming in for the intersections of Summer Avenue and Hathaway Street.
Right.
We're going to put some new cameras in there, and with the community input for that. And so we're going to continue to get the community involvement. I think that's the important thing, is the community involvement. Because the people in that community, they know what's going on in that community on a daily basis, you know. And of course, the police can't be everywhere, you know, as you well know. But we do have them, and we got to convince those young people that there's more to life than going around trying to break into cars or something other like that. That we have to show them that we do have a community that is better than that.
Those cameras for the communities, how much is that going to cost?
That's in the police
budget.
Police budget.
And how much is the yearly budget for that?
Oh, that's the largest expenditure of the police department in our budget. We several, you know, about $25-30 million. You know?
Okay.
And so but our fire department is a state-of-the-art fire department. We got the Class A rating fire department. We have a good fire chief there also. We're fortunate to have these great department heads, and they do the job. And that's where it's important that we give them opportunity to do the job and not interfere with it. And that's my policy, that I don't interfere with those people. If I have a problem, I talk to the department head. I don't call a police officer and tell you ought to do this and you ought to do that. I don't do that. That's interfering with the police department, and I don't do that. Or any department. It goes for any department. You talk to the department head. And the mayor has a policy where we're free to talk with the department head, which is a good policy. And he does have an open door policy, and all the way around he has an open door policy himself, so we can communicate with him too. And as you know, under our form of government, he is the chief administrative officer.
Right. And you talked earlier about the budget, the police budget. In that budget, is there any money for sidewalks for your district?
The sidewalks in the district, as we speak now, we just completed a sidewalk we got some grant money, and we completed a sidewalk on Flanders Avenue. They're completing that today as we speak. And also yesterday I was up on Summer Avenue, the State Highway Department, which is a state road. They're putting in new sidewalks, and I talked with the supervisor up there yesterday, and then from the highway department, he said, just let him know what sidewalks need to be repaired and on. And we need to fix the sidewalks so people can walk down, you know, not having bushes hanging over them or sand covered up with sand or something other. We need to activate it, and that's what they have to crack sidewalks up in that particular area. So they're working on that now, and that's important. I think sidewalks adds to a community. I really, really do. And, you know, it's a quality of life issue.
Right.
And just like drainage, one program that we had, you know, we had a drainage problem there, and this District 8, it was a Fieldman Creek problem. And we couldn't, what happened is there's a gate over on what they call a gate over on the Horseshoe Bend, and they had several gates through there, and they backed the water up to keep the water from coming in. And so they were, it dropped, one of the gates dropped in the thing. And we tried to get the highway department for a long time to try to fix that, because the water was pouring through there. When that tide comes in, that water pours through that salt water, and it was killing the vegetation, and it was all over with the drainage ditches were all filled up and all that thing. So we trying to get the highway department to fix that. So we couldn't get that accomplished, but I did go to the. I've been on the CHATS committee with the Charleston Area Transportation Committee with the highway commissioner from this area, which covers the whole Tri-County area. And the highway commissioner was on there with me, and I talked to him. I said, I went to him and told him my problem. This is the problem, and we got to get it resolved. And he had it done. He's a lawyer out of Somerville. He's now the chairman of the highway commission. And he had it done, and in fact, the divers went down and pulled that gate back up, and certainly improved the drainage in that area.
I know when I moderated the forum with you all last week, I think on that list a lot of people talked about the SOD roads versus the city roads.
Yeah,
where are we with that?
That's a major problem in our area, and for the state really. But anyway, most of our roads before, North Charleston was less than 50 years old, and a lot of the roads, were all state roads when they came in before, and then, of course, then some of the roads became city roads, but most of them are still state roads, and then we were restricted as to what we can do, because they don't like us doing anything to their roads, and we can't do it without their permission.
Right.
On a couple of instances where we put up stop signs when we thought there ought to be stop signs, and then they went and took them down. Said, no, don't put those in. We got other areas where in our budget we have money for speed humps and things like that in there that people have been asking for in some of the areas, because we're getting a lot of heavy traffic. We have 350,000 cars a day that come through North Charleston, the people that don't live here. But they use our facilities. They down in the village. They come to the village there. They go down and have lunch. They come back and they drive through these communities. Well, people want speed humps. The problem we've run into that, and we have requested the speed hump. If it's a city road, we can go ahead and put the speed hump on it. But if it's a state road, we have to have permission from the state. And we just had an incident on Braddock Street, for example, where we have requested to put a speed hump. We got some money for that, and to put a speed hump there, and the state highway turned us down, because the speed limit for that must be 25 miles an hour. And they on those streets there, they 30 miles an hour.
Okay.
So they won't consider it. They will not consider it. And we have sent in a request, and I have a copy of the letter, to ask them to lower that speed limit, so we can, so they can approve, lower it to 25, so they can add those speed humps, and we can work with them and add speed humps. We have the money in the budget to do that. We're gonna put the speed humps in, but we have to have their commission. And there is I must say, there is a bill that's pending, as I understand, in the State House and General Assembly, that to turn the roads over to the people in North Charleston and the other jurisdictions, to turn the roads over to them, but send some money to do it too. And that hasn't passed, but that's very important. That would be very important, that the state, instead of them trying to wait on them to try to fix a road, and requesting them to do it, it takes them forever to get to it, And so we want to try to change that if we can get the controls of the roads, and then but we have to have some money to maintain them. And that's a very important factor, and there's some debate going on about that now. We have another situation where we're trying to take over the Sproul Avenue, which is in my district. Right. And Sproul Avenue is in the area that we want to take over that road, and we're going to do some work on that road, put some parking. We need additional parking on that road. We are trying to do that, and but we can't do that until, as long as the state has control of it. We offered to take over that road, and with no funds. They didn't have to give us any funds. But we were going to renovate that road, and but they have not came through, and will not. They do not want to give that up for some reason or other. So far, I'm hoping that will happen.
Now, what else would you consider if you were reelected to office?
Well, we want to finish some of these projects that we got going. As you know, the mayor talked and wanted me to run for this reelection.
Right.
He said we have a lot of projects going and we want to get through with them. We're going to complete the renovation down in the village. As you know, we're doing lots of landscaping down there. The roads are dug up around there, and we're trying to get those resolved. We have some of it already done. Parking is a problem down in the village area, and at some point in time we're going to have probably to build a parking garage down there because there's a lot of traffic down in that particular area now. And with all these other businesses coming in, like the Chamber of Commerce coming, the Ingenuity is that's a division of the West Vaco.
Right.
But now they have their own building. They're gonna have about 300 people. They building that building's coming out of the ground now, and there's people will be moving in there next year. And so that area is really booming. But along with that, they gonna do some landscaping, and we're doing some landscaping down there. We got to get those things completed, and we're gonna have to continue. Park Circle needs to be renovated. Park Circle building, which was USO and was built in 1944. But we have the building, and we probably gonna do some renovations to that building, or either at maybe some point. Maybe not we be in this term, but to replace that building because it needs a lot of upgrades to it, and it's an old building. The original floors are still there from 1944, and so you were in the building the other night. You saw the building. It's a real good meeting place, and people like that building to be in that particular area, and so we it's been an asset to the community, and we certainly want to maintain that. So that's coming online to be done just outside the district, not in my district, but on the 19th of this month, we'll be opening the athletic center, which is up here off Remont Road area and I-26. It's going to be the state of the art. It's going to have all kind of activities there for children. This is another effort to try to get children more interested in sports and programs and things like that instead of being out and doing delinquent things. Okay. And so that's coming on board, and that's another quality of life issue for us, I think. And it's going to be an asset for North Charleston. It'll be there for a long time.
Now, how many businesses have been able to get incentives from the city of North Charleston in your district?
How many businesses?
Yes, sir.
Or how many businesses are working to business? The business community. We encourage business. We're a business-friendly city. Okay. That's the mayor's philosophy. That's mostly the council's philosophy. And we're a business-friendly city. We're trying to bring business in. Because what that does, that generates revenue for us. Businesses come in, they renovate old buildings. The city can't renovate every building in the city, but developers have to do that, and we have to work with them. But we have to have those standards to go by, and they have to follow our zoning laws and our building inspection laws and that type of thing. And we want to be good citizens, but we want to work with them. But they must comply with our thing. Most builders, I think we've been successful in that we've been able to attract businesses. People come in and renovate these old buildings. It's amazing what happens to them. Well, it does help the quality of life in our area, but it also helps the revenue stream. It's reassessed, and the property brings in a more assessment, which gives us an opportunity to do some other projects as we move along. But we're business friendly. As I met with the Chamber of Commerce the other day, and have been endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce. Right. So we met, and I mentioned to them that the business friendly atmosphere that we have here, and trying to work with people, work with developers, and we have the developers that contact us every day, and the mayor's constantly meeting with developers, and I am meeting with some myself that want to come in our particular area. They want add something to the community, and we certainly want to welcome that investment in there. And it's we down now to area we need more affordable housing. I think North Charleston has probably more affordable housing than any other jurisdiction around this particular area, and we have to continue to work on that, and we have to encourage the developer to come in. But then you run into the conflict of how much the cost of the project and how much they can charge for housing. And but it's an ongoing problem for us, and we need to continue to work on that.
Any eviction rates in your district?
The eviction rates are very high. There was I just talked to the city attorney last night. There is a housing they started a housing program, housing court downtown, and the county. And I told him to take a look at that and let's see what we can do. Maybe we can do that because we got too much eviction notices. And the problem is there again, if you got a lot of rental property, and which we do in North Charleston, we have a lot of rental property. They have to maintain the property. If they don't maintain the properties, some of these properties, some of these people that landlords, they will not keep up the property like they should, And it's a constant battle to try to get them to do that. And I think that we need to that's one of the things we need to concentrate more on. That to get these landlords to do one thing, we might look at that court thing where they have to go to court, and the tenant is not always wrong, and so therefore they get their hearing in court, and I think a lot of things can be resolved in that particular area. And then, like I said, I mentioned to the attorney last night, city attorney, that take a look at that and let's see if we need to do that in North Charleston by the housing code.
And you're also having some problems with Airbnbs too.
Airbnb is a problem. We do not have any regulations on the Airbnb at the present time. We're going to have to look at that. I told the mayor that we have to do something because all the other communities around us, are having Airbnb problems, and we have Airbnb problems too, and even in my neighborhood.
What regulations are you looking at?
Well, they have to have a business license. They have to meet certain standards. Also in the state law, it says if they use that facility for Airbnb, they don't get a 4% assessment on their property.
Okay.
Like a resident has a 4% assessment, they have to have a 6% assessment. But there's some all the regulations around that come out of the Department of Revenue that says that they're supposed to be paying accommodation tax. Things, and we don't know whether they're paying the accommodation tax or not. We have no control on. We don't know who's Airbnb. And the only way you can find it if you go on the computer and you can pick up Airbnbs on the computer. And the thing there's a way to control it, and we need to do that. That's something that we need to do because we're getting too many, and we need to have some regulations. We don't have that at the present time.
Councilman Bob King, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you.
You're welcome.